And welcome to dccodinggames.com. We are going back to Railway Empire 2 and we are going to be doing the top 10 Railway Empire 2 money making tips you can't miss. So let's get to it. The first thing I would say is always make sure you have a plan and a layout of your railway. So there are two strategies I could use here. The first strategy is making a straight railway line and you keep going, etc. That's one option, and you can have one train to the other point. You can connect it all through your rural businesses and your cities. Now there is a problem here, because when your train goes from one place to the next, it will fill up on the first rural business and you might not get all the supplies to the end point. So a good thing to do is put a warehouse in the middle, and then everything to the right will be put into the warehouse there, and then everything to the left will put into the warehouse in the middle there. So then you get this sort of a chain going, that you can have supplies coming into there and then the train picks it up and then goes over to the next bit. So that's one way you can do it, and it works very effectively. And the other way is making a small circle. I call this the spider effect. So you have the body of the spider and you can get all your essential products, so your wood, your corn, your wheat, your sugar, your cows, main things that you need at the start of the game, and you make sure you have them in your body of your spider. Now you can have 3 trains going round the circle to the left and 3 trains going round the circle to the right. Now yes, you get most resources through to your cities doing this way. Sometimes you'll find that actually you don't get that, because one train is focused on a lot of the products to one location coming into the city, because that city has an industry that requires a lot of that product, so that then you're not getting enough to the other cities. One thing you can do is dedicate some train line for just wheat to certain cities, or dedicate wood, or dedicate, sugar. And then you can get enough supply quickly to your cities so that they can grow. So then you'd have your leg of your spider, and you'd have other products that you haven't brought into that circle, or cities that need to be connected. You could put a warehouse where you've connected it from this train station in the middle of the circle, so that you have supplies of the main products there in the warehouse, so that everything can be supplied, and then you create a railway line to that location down to the leg of the spider. Or you can bring the train into the circle if you want, but remember, by putting more and more trains in the circle, you potentially get more congestion. So yes, you can do that to acquire quicker supply of stuff, or you can build a warehouse, and then the warehouse can then be supplied by the circle trains then to then go down to the leg of the spider. And then the leg of the spider, you might have another product that the circle doesn't have that can be brought up to the warehouse, etc., and supply this way. Now my second point would be always go for these bonus connections. The bonus connections in the early stages of the game is very important. So connecting them will make essentially free track, really, and you can get loans if you find that you don't have enough money to actually accomplish this. And then by doing this, you can then pay off the loan quickly, so that you don't get into more debt with the loan. And also just be aware that you don't want to pay it off too early as well, because you might have a penalty you have to pay. So pay it off at the right time. But also don't acquire 2 or more loans. That's a bad idea. I've always acquired one at a time, because over time, if you're there too long with the loan, it can eat into your profits and then you'll start owing more. A third point is when you lay out your track and you build your tracks and stuff, you always want a 1 to 3% incline. More than 1 to 3% is pretty bad. And then you also want a max speed on your line. You don't want to go 5% and then your train is really slow, because then it's not quick enough to get to one city to the next. If you find that you can't do all of this, then not to worry, just prioritize your incline first, then your speed. Your speed can be 80 to 90 kilometers an hour. That's okay, but make sure your incline isn't too much. Consider buying a couple of rural businesses at the start. So things you consider that will do well and you are about to connect, consider buying, because they'll be at a lower cost before you connect your train lines to it. Once you connect your train lines to it and you see that the business is doing well, the business will raise their prices, and that's where you're in a bit of a pickle, because you don't want to be buying it when it's very high. When you acquire a business, it's very good because you can level it. So you can level it to how big you want the business. And then you can actually consider, okay, how much is it producing and how many goods are going to the cities. If you find it's less than what the cities need, then that's not good. You'll need to increase it for all the other cities to be provided for. The opposite can happen as well. Maybe you actually have too much good thing going with your rural business and actually the cities just don't need it. Then you just level down the rural business. Just a reminder though, if you level down the rural business, then you're not going to get any money for that. There won't be any refund, but you will be costly if you level it up. So that's where you'd have to consider, well, do you want to level this business up, which costs quite a lot, or is there another similar business around the train line that you have that you can use that will cost less? But by doing that, will that bring your industry that you just bought down and level the other one up? Having two industries in the same location sometimes is not the best. It's the same with city industries that I will go on to about now. When you buy a city industry, and you'll tend to do that more in the middle stages of the game, well, just be wary that these cities are gold mines if you do it right. Like the rural businesses, buy them when, well, they're not doing so well, but you think you could potentially make them do well. You will find that businesses will start to do really well, and you might have a tendency, oh, I'm going to buy it, and I'm just going to wait until it's this price and I'll buy it. And then you realize it's actually gone up even more in price. So then you're trying to catch up with it. That is a never-ending cycle of losing, whereas you could have just bought another business. If you do this, then you're wasting time on other things you could develop in your railway empire. So what I would do is look at another city business that maybe is supplying too much and it doesn't have the cities for it to go to. Well, if you find a business city like that, then maybe you might go, okay, well, I could use this and I could connect other cities. It won't cost me that much to connect this to there. And then more of these products will go out, meaning this city business will boom. That's a good one to go for, because at the time it will cost less. Or find a middle ground. Maybe you find a business that is doing well, but it's pretty small and it's actually not producing enough and cities really need the demand. That's a good one to go for. It will cost a bit, but it won't cost a fortune. Another point I would say is, from the get-go, you want to maintain your trains very well. You want to make sure that their maintenance depots are built every second station, and that it's on 80% and transferred to all your stations, including maintenance depot. Also, another point, making sure that your personnel are on 200%, your engineers are on 200%, and that they all have very good percentage range, because the more wages they get, the happier they are, the engineers do better, etc. And make sure you have water supply connected in the middle of one connection to the other, so that trains get enough water. Another point I would consider is that when you get later into the game, that you will require more trains. More trains and not enough tracks will lead to congestion, because they're using the same track to be on that line, meaning if there's like 7 tracks on one line, what's going to happen? There's going to be all this congestion and so forth, and you'll start to see this happening. So just build more lines, more dedicated lines to certain trains that are bringing these goods in. Also, having a separate station in the later stages of the game, for example for passengers and freight, will really help you, because the upgrades to your train stations can only allow 2 upgrades. So actually having, for instance, on your passenger trains, post offices or restaurants or marketplaces will help. Combining the restaurants and the marketplace is good, but I would always go for restaurant, prioritize that for passenger places, and then the post office. But you know, for freight, then you only have to deal with the dispatch and maintenance and warehouses. Well, I hope you liked that video, and if you have anything, comments or any sections that you really want me to do more of, please let me know. I'll be happy to do that. In conclusion though, in early stages, have a plan, have a layout, make sure you have right warehouses and right location, make sure you buy a couple of rural businesses at the start, get your money up, then acquire more outwards things to other products that are being developed, or your cities grow, you know, you might want to expand to other areas, like make that spider leg for instance, to expand, and then consider buying city businesses, because this is where your real bucks are. So please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.